We have some breaking news here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Chicago has released veteran left tackle Charles Leno Jr. just a couple of days after the NFL draft has concluded. Lots to talk about surrounding this and Tevin Jenkins. Stay tuned for that later on in the show. They have, of course, released the veteran. Technically, I guess he hasn't been released yet because it's going to be a post-June 1st designation, which will save Chicago $9 million against the salary cap, which means other teams will be able to sign him starting on June 1st. Not a hugely surprising move, as we've talked about in the past. Cutting him saves a lot of money, especially if it's after June 1st, but also the Bears cap situation very, very tight. They entered the NFL draft with the least amount of cap space of all 32 NFL teams. They were just right above or right below the cap line, so they had to cut somebody, either Charles Leno or Jimmy Graham, and for now, looks like Charles Leno is the scapegoat, if you will, in this situation for salary cap purposes. Guys, you had to do something, right? Now, after the draft, I thought, okay, you draft Tevin Jenkins, maybe they'll restructure or keep Charles Leno, and he'll play left tackle. Sounds like Jenkins could be playing left tackle again. More on him later on, but at the end of the day, the Bears had to either cut or restructure multiple guys. Cutting Leno after June 1 saves you almost $10 million. This is just business, guys. Charles Leno's been an okay player, but certainly never lived up to that contract. What is your one-word reaction to Chicago cutting Charles Leno? A couple words could make sense. Business, good, happy. Let me know, one-word reaction, and I'll give you my one word. I think it's Jenkins. Jenkins is the one word because Ian Rappaport of NFL Network added this to the news of Charles Leno getting cut. We'll just show you guys the tweet right here saying, the Bears will be releasing Charles Leno, source said, their starter the last 7 seasons. A surprise move. Not really a surprise. Chicago drafted Tevin Jenkins in the second round and plans to play him on the left side. Leno now available for left tackle needy teams. This part of it is surprising because I expected Tevin Jenkins to play right tackle. He played mostly right tackle in college. He was not really much of a left tackle at Oklahoma State. He started 7 games on the left side, whereas he started 26 at right tackle. This is interesting, but clearly the Bears entered this situation once they traded up for Jenkins like, hey, he's our left tackle. Charles Leno, we're going to cut him and save $9 million. So very fascinating move and somewhat exciting move if it ends up working out for Tevin Jenkins at left tackle. But is cutting Charles Leno Jr. the right move right now? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your votes in on this one. Y for yes, N for no. Is Charles Leno cutting the right move? I think it probably is. This is why you subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. We just crossed 26,000 subs after a strong NFL draft. Appreciate you guys, but there's still news to talk about. Breaking news, rumors, more. We'll cover it all here on Chicago Bears Now. Oh, and join us tomorrow. Live show, 4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Central here on Chicago Bears Now. You see the link below, youtube.com/Bears Now, but just hit that big red button and subscribe. I'm sure we'll talk more about this topic and a whole lot more tomorrow. Lots of rumors and news flying around the Bears following the NFL draft. So let's talk more about the Tevin Jenkins side of this. We'll certainly tie in the news of Charles Leno getting cut, but the plan, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, is that Jenkins will play left tackle for Chicago, which, again, he played mostly right tackle at Oklahoma State. 7 of his 30-plus starts in college were at left tackle, so he's played a little bit on that side, but he was viewed by most scouts, most analysts, and quite frankly, I think most teams to be a strong right tackle prospect. Now, that doesn't mean it can't work. It's a great move if it does work, and here's why. Because cutting Leno saves you the most money of any player on the roster. We've talked about that pretty clear. And now, if you have Tevin Jenkins at left tackle and it works and he plays well, this is probably maximizing your O-line both from a player standpoint and from a financial standpoint if Jenkins is good at left tackle. That's the key, because you got Whitehair at left guard, Mustipher, I think, stays at center this year. Daniels at right guard. I like that interior. If that's what it ends up being, maybe Whitehair or Daniels plays center, but I think it'll be those three guys. And then now Ifedi, who's cheaper than Charles Leno Jr., you keep him as a starter at right tackle. He's certainly not great. Maybe Alex Bars competes with him over there. But from a financial standpoint, this is maximizing what your offensive line could be this year, and I think if it works, it ends up being a really, really good move. Obviously, Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, this offensive staff believes Tevin Jenkins can play left tackle. Do you? Do you trust him sliding over to the left side of this offensive line? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I'll put my trust in this staff for now. They've made questionable moves in the past, but after a strong draft, hey, they got a lot of mojo going right now. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you trust Tevin Jenkins at left tackle? Now, Tevin Jenkins was the second pick for the Chicago Bears in the NFL draft, and a great one. The best one was obviously Justin Fields, and we've got his jersey available. A lot of these are selling already, so get in line and get one today at chatsports.com/Fields1. He will wear number 1 for the Chicago Bears. Only elite players can wear that number, and Justin Fields is elite. Chatsports.com/Fields1. We got the navy, we got the orange, we got the white. Now, some of these are on back order because a lot of you guys are buying them, and these players just got drafted, so the NFL is having to press a bunch of jerseys to get them ready. So they may not ship until later in June, but get in line right now. You'll get it well before the NFL season starts. Get a Justin Fields jersey today at chatsports.com/Fields1. The Bears obviously seem to think he can play left tackle. Otherwise, you wouldn't cut Charles Leno 2 days after the NFL draft. That's the only reason you would do that unless you believe that your rookie out of Oklahoma State is competent enough to kick over to the left side. You're not going to put Jermaine Ifedi at left tackle, I don't think. You're not going to put Alex Bars over there. They clearly think, hey, Tevin Jenkins, we traded up for you. Yeah, you played mostly right tackle in college, but you can play left tackle in our scheme, and he's a great run blocker. I think he still has some room to grow technique-wise as a pass blocker, but Chicago still wants to be a team that runs the football a lot with David Montgomery. So I like the aggressiveness here. I think it can work. Maybe it takes a little time. There's a little growing pain here, but financially, cutting Charles Leno was a pretty obvious move unless you were going to focus on cutting Jimmy Graham, who for now remains on this roster, and they seem to think will be a part of their plans heading into 2021. Now do this for me. Go into your crystal ball. Predict the Bears Week 1 starting offensive line from me. Just name the 5 guys. I won't, tell you to be creative from left to right unless you want to, if you want to go above and beyond. Predict the Bears Week 1 starting offensive line. This is what I think it'll be. I think it'll be from left to right. Tevin Jenkins at left tackle. Cody Whitehair at left guard. Sam Mustipher at center. James Daniels at right guard. And then Jermaine Ifedi at right tackle. And if Jenkins, again, if he works well over there, that O-line is much improved from what we saw this past year, which is good news for Andy Dalton. It's great news for David Montgomery. It's good news for Justin Fields whenever he gets plugged into the starting lineup. But the news of the day, Charles Leno no longer a member of the Chicago Bears. He will be a post-June 1 cut designation, which saves Chicago $9 million. Adios, Charles Leno. We'll see you on the flip side. We'll see where he ends up landing. But for now, that's it. Here on Chicago Bears Now, make sure you stay tuned for more videos.